Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe with episode number 20. 19 was last week, 20 this week. Darkness Falls. There you go. It's already descending upon me. I'm just tired. April the 15th, 94. It first airs. This one written by Chris Carter and motivated by his mistrust of the government. Gee, I could never begin to understand that one. He grew up out of the Watergate scandal era, and so that's what sort of really fueled him. Joe Napolitano is the director. I think I've mentioned his name once before earlier. He was first AD on things like Scarface and Blowout, Body Double, The Untouchables. Small cast, really just a small cast. And a really tough shoot, man. There was a lot of weather and local issues going on that caused a lot of delays in this. But man, when you watch this episode, it is so beautifully shot. Just the terrain, the geography, the environment, the locale that they are in. It really is sort of spooky. They get called up to this. There is an entire logging crew missing. And the last time this happened, I think if I remember right, it was like 30s or something, 34 maybe if I remember right. And so that's what they're getting up there. And sort of not different than last week's episode. You also have some hostility being waged between the logging company and, of course, as they refer to them, eco-terrorists, those who are out there trying to do everything they can to defend the forest and be just an incredible thorn in the side of the logging companies. And we do kind of get a sense that, on the one side, the logging company only operates within the scheme of the law. But we find out that that line is a little blurry because we have one tree in particular. Now, this is interesting. We have a tree that is marked with I think it was a red X, which tells them they're not allowed to cut it down. It's an old tree, but it's been cut down. And we find out that might have been the source of the contagion of this, dare I say, well, let's just use the word ancient, insect, type of insect that when it gets out and going, it's a flesh eater. It just basically consumes you and will lift you even up high into the trees and cocoon you in I haven't seen anything like this since maybe, The Mist did it pretty well, actually. And I wonder how much of The Mist, now that I think about it, was inspired by this episode. And just in terms of how we see some of the people after the fact, right? And so you have this ongoing hostility between the eco terrorists and the logging company, and as you know, but you find that the logging company may have done some wrong in terms of cutting down trees they shouldn't have. But then which is funny, the main guy who is the main character, who is our eco terrorist, who is like the lone survivor of everyone that's been up there. He makes a point about this, quite ironic, that, you break the law and cut something down and unleash this plague, right? Well, this guy will do something not so different later on because of their laying down these caltrops. They're designed as they lay them out on the trail, on the roadway trails or whatever, where the vehicles, are constantly going up and down. They lay them down there to basically bust out the tires. And of course, wouldn't you know it, as our survivors, you got Scully, Mulder, you got the head of the security, which I think that guy ultimately dies. You got the eco terrorist, and then you got a guy who's representative of the forest agency. And they're at the very end, they're trying to flee out of there, right? They hit one of these things and the tires blow, of course, right? And that's the death knell. They're all probably going to die. And the forest guy inside, I think it's him, who makes the point, well, isn't that ironic? We're going to die as a result of something he did. So it kind of goes both sides. And I love how they balance that, man. How it's not just lopsided one side, like you're just supposed to hate them. and not them or whatever, hate them and not them. But here that's sort of just laid out. 28 Days Later did an interesting job of that too, in terms of just who ultimately unleashes that viral plague rage, right, on society. I love it when they do things like that. I love it when blame can't just easily be assessed. It's just sort of blurry, like, well, and then it goes on going, right? So anyways, we find out that these whole missing logger team, man, probably, and the Echo Terrorists up there, all probably fell victim to this like flesh-eating, sort of prehistoric insect species, I guess, if that can even use that word for an insect. And so Mulder and Scully, they're up there and they're caught between these two things going on, just like the episode before. And and trust. Mulder gets really put in, on the burner for letting the Echo Terrorist take pretty much what was almost left of the gas, so he could, take the Jeep over about a valley over and try to save his friends, on his word that he'll come back. Of course, once the other people find out, they're just like, what did you do? There's no way he's coming back for us. We can't trust him. And not to his word, he comes back. And so, I just love that play. I love that play where, cliches or whatever, however you want to assess it, gets sort of broken down a little bit. But I'm just, the effects in this thing, man, just the cocoon effects and how they look. Really, I don't think we've seen anything like this since The Mist under Frank Darabont did it so well. Really creepy, eerie, and you can sense at times where Scully is really freaked out. She does not want to go out this way. And we even have like, okay, it's not like really, but it's almost kind of like a lover's spat between Mulder and Scully. They haven't been together that long to really call it that, but it feels like that. But they really sort of get into it. But it's only because they're really starting to care for one another. And so, but they ultimately, in the end, they get through it. And in the end, you sort of have this sort of messaging from Chris Carter, they're being treated by some federal agency. They're being treated, and they're going to pull through and be okay. But Mulder gets into this discussion with, I guess he's the lead scientist or whatever, about containment. And the guy's like, well, we'll do whatever we have to do, burn an insecticide, pesticide, whatever. And Mulder's like, what if that's not good enough? And the guy's like, that's not an option. And so, just sort of like, I don't know, there's a lot of, and this is a Monster of the Week episode, right? It's not connected to the wider mythology, but it does tap in a little bit in terms of our mistrust of the government and Mulder's own mistrust. And I think we're going to see that by the end of season 1. We'll see how loudly we see it, but right off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly how season 1 ends. And that's the one part about this whole great experiment about going through methodically every single episode, is remembering season finales and being able to talk about a season finale and how the next season opens up. And I cannot wait till we get to like season 5 and how that ends and bleeds into the first theatrical film and how we come out of that back into season 6. These things are going to be fun, man, for me to talk about. But I cannot wait to get to that first season 1 finale and just know that season 1 is past, but how does it end? And where are we potentially looking forward to in terms of the lives of Mulder and Scully? And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And so I'm really, really, really stoked and looking forward to this. I'm not sure if I'm going to take a break at all between seasons. I don't know. I don't know if I will or not. It's this always thing with a break, right? You take a break and then it's 3 times as hard to get back into it. So I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But anyways, beautiful episode, absolutely stunning to look at. Well worth all the delays and extra work that went into pulling this one off. This is one of the infamous Monster of the Week episodes from the X-Files lore, and this is good, man. This is just a lot of fun. Some good writing by Chris Carter and good direction as well, and from the cast as well. Yeah. So Now, anyway, see, my brain's got. We always end these things off with "Go Bills."
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.